Welcome to this continuation of Seasons of Fathering. This week we're going to transition from the teacher season to the coach season. You know, the teacher season we were working on grounding our kids in the values we wanted to instill in the home and prepare them for the outside influences that are right around the corner. During this coaching season, we're working our kids through those outside influences as they're being incurred, and we're preparing them, enabling a faith that will allow them to navigate through this time. To be clear, during this transition time, that doesn't mean that the teaching absolutely stops at age 8, 10, or 12. What we're doing is giving you a heads up that this is a time where the kids are going to start to be influenced by some outside forces, some different perspectives on life. And this usually starts to occur around age 10 when they're exposed to school and other activities outside. They'll start to question some of the instruction that they received without any questions early on in life, and now they'll start to be influenced by a teacher, by movies, by friends, even friends' families that have a different perspective on things like marriage, what's right and what's wrong. Even a different worldview starts to influence our children through their associations outside of the home. It's important for parents to anticipate some of this resistance and the questions that come about that challenge some of the foundational teachings that you instilled as a family in the home. Some teaching certainly needs to continue to happen during these years, but if you try to make up for maybe some teaching deficits during the early years, you could indeed cause a rift in a relationship, a damage in a relationship if you try to overteach during this time of coaching, this coach season. So it's important during the coach season to let the reins out a little bit, understanding that you're going to have some attitude to deal with, you're going to have some bad decisions made, and the consequences that go with those decisions. This is all part of your child maturing into the person the Lord is calling him to be or her to be. But the key for a coach is to stay very alert and stay tuned in without being intrusive in your child's life, to anticipate the resistance and get to what is at the core of the resistance your child may be facing. If it's around relative truth, certainly we can come in with some absolute truth to counteract the influence. If it's around a dangerous situation, a bad group of kids, bad environment, the coach always has a right to call time out and change the play or change the environment to protect their child. But for the record, this can be some of the most exhilarating time as a parent, but it can also be some of the most frustrating times as well. Dad and mom need to stay on full alert during these years to help their children navigate through the thrill of their victories and the agony of defeats. In this session, I will hit 4 key areas that fall under the coaching season banner. They're going to be marriage, education, relationships, and planning and execution. So let's get started. The first key area I'd like to hit is marriage, of course. The best coaching you can do day in, day out is through the example of your marriage in the home. The foundational education a child receives in the early years has everything to do with the interaction of mom and dad as husband and wife. How they converse, how they address problems, show affection, identify and meet needs, how they run the finances, and in general provide for the family. In the coach season, this is going to continue, but it's going to be under the eyes of a more alert young person asking a lot of questions. So it's important to help them navigate through some of the cultural influences that have everything to do with how they progress in understanding marriage. There will be a lot more questions. Why are my friends' parents divorced? Why would parents want to divorce? What's wrong with same-sex marriage? These are things that in the past we may give short matter-of-fact answers, but in this season, those matter-of-fact answers aren't going to work. We need to sit down and have that dialogue with them to help them grapple with differences they didn't even know existed. Differences in opinions, differences in family situations, differences in worldview. During the coach season, the important thing is to engage the child in a discussion, in a dialogue that allows them to start to process. Commit the time to these discussions, because that good open dialogue is the key to staying connected with your kids during this season. The question of other family situations is one of those areas that will provide a great point of reference for the type of dialogue that needs to happen. Depending on your background, whether there was no divorce in your family or whether there were multiple divorces and alternative lifestyles being practiced, these will influence the biases and even the opinions that are thrown out there during that dialogue. So be very alert to what could be taken as a very rigid perspective, or maybe an overly flexible, anything goes mentality when it comes to healthy relationships. The best coaching I ever received had nothing to do with an opinion, had everything to do with the Bible, with God's design. You know, you can go to Genesis 1:27 and learn about biology, because he says God created us in his image, male and female, he created us. Later in Genesis in 2:24, we learn about marriage, that for this reason a man will leave his mother and father and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. In Malachi 2:15, we learn why one flesh. He says, for the sake of raising godly offspring. That's what we're here for. So that's God's design. Now, it's also important to realize, Romans 3:23, Paul says, we all fall short of the glory of God. And so we have to extend the grace to understand that divorce happens. There are things that we will fall short to his design, but that doesn't mean we compromise his design or discount his design. Our challenge as parents is to live into that design a little bit better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today. Also, one dimension of God's design for marriage is to make sure the kids understand that that is the foundational relationship for the home. Today, kids can have schedules that are more hectic than mom and dad. But the important thing is to establish that the family rotates around the marriage, not the other way around. So as part of this journey in the coach season, it's important to get on the calendar early and often those date nights and times to reinvigorate that marriage relationship for mom and dad, above and beyond what the kids' activities may be. So get those things on the schedule and work through those. The dynamics in family and in the church provide the keys for communication, effective communication during this season as well. You know, research by Steve Barna and Barna Group showed that less than 1 in 10 families that attend church weekly have any discussion around spiritual things during the week. That validates the saying that the devil isn't really concerned about us being in church on Sunday, because he has us distracted very well Monday through Saturday. A study also shows, kids want to talk to their parents about faith, about sex, and what healthy relationships look like. But too often, mom and dad are either not engaged, too busy, or they're struggling with some perspectives themselves on what healthy relationships and maybe sexuality, human sexuality issues. So there's confusion in the home, and when that happens, kids just turn to the internet and their peers for answers, and you may not like where those answers take them. Dads have the power to rebuke this and set the family on the right course. One dad initiated family discussion time after a dinner 3 evenings a week. And this was a time where we had open question night. You could ask any question you wanted as a kid, and parents could ask any question as well. This was very powerful because you not only got an understanding of what questions there were, but you also got an understanding of the perception of kids may have with issues the family is facing. So when discussion is initiated like this and enabled and encouraged, minor issues stay minor, and some major issues can be dealt with in a very healthy way to flush them out. One evening, the kids commented, they said, "Dad, why did you answer the phone during dinner time?" And their perception was that Dad prioritized business or that relationship over their family dinner time. And so the family had a dialogue about that and came up with a new policy that during dinner and after 7 o'clock in the evenings, they would put all phones and electronic devices at a central docking station so that there were no interruptions in the family time, and the family understood that this was a priority. So you see, this healthy dialogue opened the door to a new family policy that held Dad accountable too. Education is the second key area that I want to address for this season of coaching. You know, back in the teacher season, we talked about how critical it was to help your child make that bridge, make that move from learning to read to reading to learn. During this coaching season, our challenge is to make sure the kids see reading as fun as well as an opportunity to learn. One way to do that is to help them pick books that interest them. They're along their lines of things that they're interested in. And then read the book alongside them. You know, shadow reading a book with your child not only helps you stay in tune with the difficulty level, what kind of reading difficulty level they're reading at, it also opens the door for some open-ended questions about the book that might open the door for conversations that you might not have otherwise. This goes for school books as well. Not that you have to read every book that every school book the child brings home, but the idea here is to at least stay in tune with the teacher's curricula for that given class. So you know what's going on in class and you can stay in step with how your child is progressing educationally. Not only are you more in tune with their education, but you're also conveying the significance you put on that education. So Dad and Mom need to work well together to not only make sure they know the teachers, but that the teachers know them as well and know how to contact them if there are any issues or anything in the school year they need to be aware of. Then kids will catch the importance you put on education. Extracurricular activities are also a key part of a child's education during this season. While it's important to maintain sanity through all the things that your kids are interested in, as you evaluate their opportunities to be involved in outside activities, it's also important to keep the door open to as many things as you possibly can during the developmental years. I always say that two sports are very important, swimming and soccer. Swimming because every kid needs to learn how to swim. And when a parent makes it through 1 or 2 swimming seasons, they've learned a good bit about patience in dealing with teams and an activity like that. Soccer I encourage because it not only teaches good coordination, hand, foot, and just good movement, it also teaches a kid how to fall relatively gracefully. And the added benefit is it sets a kid's cardiovascular health off on the right foot early on in life. So those are 2 sports, but really whether it's piano or baseball, band or football, taekwondo or tennis, the important thing is that as they enjoy involvement in these extracurricular activities, they're taking on some valuable life lessons. They're the discipline to learn specific skills associated with that activity, the commitment to a team, the rules and boundaries that govern this activity, stay within those, working through failures and successes, and learning good sportsmanship. Just to name a few of the benefits that go with extracurricular activities. Keeping the door open to as many of these activities as possible really allows you to get in sync and help a child understand their unique giftedness in some of the gifts that the Lord has given them. And in candid dialogue with the kids and the kids' coaches, you can begin to get in tune with their bent or their talent that they can grow and develop in. So education as a whole, both school education as well as extracurricular activities, play a key part in this coaching season as you get to know your kids and they get to know you. Relationships is the next key area to deal with during this season, this coaching season of fathering. It's in this season that your kids will develop some of their best friends and experience their first love. It's also a season where they'll lose some of their friends and realize that their perspective on love was just a glimpse of what the Lord has planned down the road. It's a time where they will be exposed to naked pictures of men and women, to pornography. They will be introduced to a perspective on sex that's consistent with the cultural norms and will have many questions about what healthy relationships look like. This is a tough season for a dad and a mom, But what a wonderful opportunity it is for a good coach. Friends early on may be neighborhood kids or classmates. You know, a friend by definition is a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection. That bond of mutual affection might be sports activities or other interests that kids have. Now, as kids mature, interests and activities change as well. So friends are going to come and go. They're going to change as kids mature. And it's important that parents have this, help kids navigate through the ups and downs that go with these types of friendships. They're navigating through the highs of good number of friends and the lows where it just doesn't seem like they have any friends at all. But a parent's perspective can help them understand that we want to affirm them in who they are and whose they are. That your value is not by any means tied by your friends at any given time, or, by the way, by likes on social media. Dating is another whole level of relationship that you're going to deal with during this season. I'm not a fan of one-on-one dating until at least the senior year in high school, but group dating shouldn't be taken lightly either. A dear friend of mine instituted the policy, let his daughter know that if there was a guy that wanted to date her, he had to date him first. And so these suitors that were willing to go out with Dad ahead of time got a good dose of a father's love for his daughter and the level of respect that he expected this young man to give his daughter. You know, years later, the daughter said, yes, indeed, it seemed a bit corny for my dad to have to date the boyfriends, but because none of her friends, no friends in her circles, the dads didn't mandate that. But she did say that indeed, it was just another statement to her from her dad how much she meant to him. That's what we need to convey to our daughters. Now, dads with sons, you need to take a lesson from this dad with daughters, you see, because it's through this type of relationship that we can encourage our sons that what the reason is that we open the door for women, why we pull chairs out for women to sit down, why we respect women. You know, that a real man respects women, never takes advantage of a woman in any form or fashion. And that's the ideal that our kids should grow up with. Just witnessing dad and mom in the home, hopefully, is simply a reinforcement of the example they see day in, day out. The mutual respect for the relationship that a man has with a woman or a young man needs to have with a young lady. So that dating piece is a key piece. Be engaged and be very cautious about how you let the reins out during this dating season. Finally, a good dialogue is critical around sex during this season. The culture has done a very good job breaking sex from a relationship. Sex is reduced to simply a physical act, as you see so many examples of casual sex, the hookup culture, and social media, absolutely downgrading the sexual experience to the physical acts. In contrast, God's design is that sex is the pinnacle of the healthy relationship He has planned for us in marriage. The dialogue around sex must start early and often in the home. Studies suggest that kids, on average, are exposed to pornography by age 9. This is a disaster, but that's the reality. In fact, normal media and even some cartoons have sexual innuendos even well before that. So our challenge is to open the dialogue early and keep the home as a very safe place to have this dialogue. You can utilize resources like Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, written by Gail Pointer and Kristen Jensen. Other resources are available through Protect Young Minds, Focus on the Family, Family Life, and the Center for Parent and Youth Understandings. Of course, my favorite resource is Scripture. You know, you can look for God's design in the first 2 chapters of Genesis and realize that He made us male and female for a reason. And in the book of Romans, second half of chapter 1 makes it very clear when we deviate from that design, there are serious consequences in life. Again, one of the key challenges for the coach, dad, during this season is to not come across as, and even steer clear of coming across as judgmental or condescending in any way with an opinion. At this age, kids aren't interested in your opinion. They want to understand what's right and what's wrong, and what are both of these to be based upon. That's where family devotion time, Bible studies individually and as a family can provide the absolute grounding for a healthy dialogue around sex in this hypersexualized culture that we're in. You see, God's design is perfect and absolutely worth an open discussion. The final key area that I'd like to hit is simply planning and execution. You know, satisfaction as a coach in any arena is seeing the planning and execution implemented come together. It's when your players have embraced the direction given, shown the discipline to nurture their unique talents to the full, and realized their role in the bigger picture and finally executed the plays to perfection. The coach simply lets the reins out and watches. Similarly, during the coach season of fathering, dads have to begin to let the reins out at key junctures. There's that first overnight at a friend's house, first team that dad doesn't coach, the transition from middle school to high school, that first failing grade, the first smartphone you give your kids with a data plan, that first date, the first time your child gets cut from a team, the first time they take the car, the first time you leave to do a college trip or prepare them for a job interview, and finally that first time they leave home. All of these are times that a dad may indeed have to pull the reins in a little bit, but hopefully as we've progressed during the coaching season, this is the exception and not the rule. One dad let his kids know that if they build up enough trust, enough God points during the middle school and high school years, they would be extended senior privilege. That meant that their senior year of high school, there would be no rules for school nights, no curfews on the weekends, and the other stipulations they've lived under would be relaxed. It was quite a test for both parents and the kids to see if the kids indeed embraced all the values and the faith instilled over the early years and embraced them as their own and still continued to live under a well-disciplined lifestyle. If not, at least the pending disaster would happen while the kids are still at home. But if so, mission accomplished. A godly generation has been raised, equipped to leave home to stand firm against worldly influences, grounded in the faith that they've embraced as their own, and to walk boldly as a kingdom influence in this world. That's when you get an added ad from me.